Hi everyone and Happy New Year. I'm back with some allergic reaction on my eye. I'm not sure how visible it is for you. For me, it's pretty visible.
Several days later.
I'm just hoping it's not gonna get any worse. I didn't plan to take a break from YouTube, and it wasn't a decision that I sat down and made. It happened life, because life simply didn't leave any space. My last video went up around beginning of November, and soon after I turned 40, so my family came over to visit. My mother lives in a different country and it takes a while for her to travel here. So when she comes, it's never short. This time she stayed a bit over 3 weeks, and let me put it this way, she is not the easiest person to deal with. She is strong, controlling, and she wants things be done her way, and that's just who she is. Living under the same roof brought tension. Old patterns surfaced and everyday decisions carried weight. It was emotionally demanding in the way that it's hard to explain unless you've lived it. Later on, my brother came for a visit, just 1 week, and that made things easier. He is more gentle and he brings balance. And even with all the differences, all the personalities clashing and adjusting, well, it was still good having them here. There is something grounding about having a full house. Voices in every room, sharing meals, life happening loudly and imperfectly. But it takes energy, a lot of it. By the end of the day, I had nothing left. Not physically, not mentally, not emotionally. I couldn't sit down and create, not because I didn't want to, but because there was no inner space left to give. And at first, it felt uncomfortable, like if I was failing something, like I was falling behind. Because somewhere along the way, I started equating consistency and meaning, as if showing up no matter what was the same as doing something that matters. But life teaches us otherwise. When you keep pushing and pushing without presence, without inner agreement, the burnout isn't a surprise. It's inevitable. And it isn't laziness, it's not weakness. It's a result of doing something without that connection to why. And the end of the year doesn't make it any easier. For most people, it's busy already with school breaks, holidays, Christmas. For our family, it's even more intense because besides all that, all our birthdays come at the end of the year. Both my daughters, mine, my husband's, and it's just some little extra pressure. For months, there is celebrating, planning, preparing. Joyful, yes, but also quite overwhelming. So yeah, I didn't choose to stop, I was forced. But only after stopping, I realized how much I needed it. I had been pushing too hard, trying to stay consistent, keep up the pace, honor schedules, while quietly ignoring my own limits. Sometimes life presses pause for you when you refuse to do it yourself. And only in that pause do you finally hear what your mind and your body was trying to tell you all along. During that same period, that something else has happened, which from a side might seem small, but to me it felt enormous. At 40 years old, I finally got my driving license. And it didn't come easy, not because I didn't want it, but because life kept on getting in the way. So this year, I started my lessons again in March, slowly, carefully, doing my best. And 1 week before my test, my instructor told me that she's not going to lend me her car for the test as I'm not ready. And let me tell you, in England, the queue to just book your test is enormous. I personally waited about 4 to 5 months, if not more than that. And you can't just change the date. I would need to wait another, well, at least 3 months. So it was just impossible, pretty much. I was shocked, I was stressed, and I was, yeah, my confidence was somewhere on the floor. And maybe she was right. I wasn't perfect, but I thought I deserve a chance. Even if I failed, even if it would go badly, at least I would know where I stood. But that option was taken away. And suddenly I was standing in that familiar place, that quiet and painful place where someone else decides that you are not ready. So I had to do something. I contacted driving schools, instructors, people I didn't know. Most of them didn't respond. Some said no. And then there was only one person who responded. One. He agreed to give me a chance. So a day before my test, I had a practice drive with him in a completely new car for 2 hours and 1 hour just before my test. And he said, everything is fine with me. I'm ready. I'm all right. And I passed. First time with only 3 minor mistakes. And just so you know, on the test, you are allowed 15 minor mistakes. So I didn't just feel happy, I felt relieved and validated. Not only because I passed, but because someone had believed I was worth trying. Then I was thinking how much of our lives depend not on talent, but on opportunity. How many people never discover what are they capable of simply because no one opens the door? How often we internalize rejection as truth. How often we accept you are not ready as a verdict instead of an option. But readiness is rarely about perfection and more about courage, about showing up before you feel prepared. And that experience stayed with me, not just as a license in my wallet, but also as a reminder that sometimes all we need is one person willing to say, try. And sometimes we have to be that person for ourselves. Around the same time, something else entered my life, probably just as meaningful. I started face painting for kids. It wasn't planned, it was no big decision behind it. It happened almost accidentally. My kids were going to birthday parties and there were face painters there and I watched them work. The colors, the brushes, the way children's faces change instantly when they see themselves in the mirror. Joy appeared instantly. And something in me recognized that feeling. So I bought some supplies, nothing fancy, just enough to try. I practiced on my kids, on my husband, on my arms, on my legs, and whatever skin was available. Within a short time, I did a couple of birthday parties and Christmas market. And it went well, surprisingly. Not perfect, not polished, but real. The children were happy, parents smiled, and I felt something I haven't felt in a while: ease. There's a concept in psychology called beginner's mind. It's a state where curiosity comes before judgment, and learning feels natural because ego hasn't stepped in yet. And that's what face painting gave me. I wasn't trying to be the best. I wasn't trying to define myself. I was just doing the work, showing up, and improving naturally. Of course, I saw my limitations. So I booked a course to learn more about hygiene, about products, about techniques. But if I'm honest, mostly to gain confidence. Not to become someone else, but to trust myself more. I also started social media for my face painting. It's very new, very fresh. So if you're curious to see my face paint works, I'm gonna leave the link in the description. This experience helped me realize that we don't need to master something to begin. We don't need to justify joy. We don't need to turn everything into identity and a lifetime commitment. Sometimes we are allowed to do things just because they bring joy to others and to ourselves too. So at some point, face painting became an escape for me from all the stress and nerves that I've been surrounded with, the family visiting, all the festivities, and the driving test drama. And through all of this, intuitive art never left. It's just waited. And now I'm finally coming back to it. Quieter, slower, and more honest. Intuitive art doesn't respond well to pressure. You can't rush it. You can't schedule inspiration or demand meaning on command. It needs space, trust, a willingness to listen instead of control. So I'm starting this new year with a new piece, a big canvas, just big enough to feel slightly uncomfortable. The technique will stay the same. I'll create a background, let it settle, and then fill it up with intricate details. It will take time, probably a lot of it. But for the first time in a long while, I'm okay with that. I'm no longer going to chase consistency for the sake of appearance. I'm choosing meaning instead. I can't promise regular uploads. I can't promise speed. I will post when it makes sense, when there is something real to share. Because intuitive art, at its core, it's about presence. It's about responding to what's there instead of what should be there. There is this philosophical concept, kairos, the right time. Not clock time, but meaningful time. The moment when something is ready, not because the clock says so, but because you are. A seed doesn't grow because enough days have passed. It grows when conditions are right. Light, water, warmth, patience. That moment is kairos. That's the rhythm I want to follow from now, or at least try. And maybe that's what growing means. Not doing more, but doing fewer things with more truth. I want to say something important to everyone who stayed with me and waited patiently while I was not posting, for all your kind words, for your comments, for everyone who was watching my old videos, and especially those who have supported me financially through my website. It means to me more than I can even put in words. It means it's not just money, it's trust, and I'm not taking it lightly. I also want to apologize not to responding to all the comments. I just didn't want to open my socials at all because I knew I will be pulled right in and it would make me feel guilty for not being able to answer to everyone, and just but somehow it made me feel even worse for not doing it. But I'm back on tracks now. I went through my comments. I responded, if not to all of you by now, but to most of you. You know, I always get back to everyone. And thank you very much for being with me. And this is not all the news. The most fascinating thing I have kept to the end. We've got a new family member. His name is Drake. Drake the dragon. He's a bearded dragon. He's only 5 months old, but he's growing incredibly fast. And he's surprisingly very affectionate. He likes to cuddle. All right, Reiki? Somehow, he managed to become the calmest presence in the house, which feels symbolic, honestly. His limbs are wide because he's shedding his skin now. I would love to hear from you guys. How did you spend your holidays? Did you make any New Year's resolutions, especially the creative ones? Did something shift for you recently, or maybe nothing dramatic has happened at all, which is also totally fine. Thank you all for being here, even in the quiet moments. I'll see you in the next one. We'll see you in the next one. Right, Reiki?